The only thing I'm worried about is the audio quality. Like it's fine right now, but I hope it's not shitty on the recording.
I think it should be fine because I mean this that I have on my end is an iPhone 11, so it's kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've ever heard of iPhones. They're impressively...
Apple, isn't that company who used to be Relevant?
Oh, Zing.
Oh, the ones that used to like come up with innovative technology.
Oh, well, now they have. Well, yeah. What about Samsung? Apple's like, we got 3 cameras, and they're like, oh, that's lame. It looks stupid. And they're like, here's our phone, 4 cameras.
Hey, my Samsung can double as a grenade. Okay.
Does it explode? Did you download an app that makes it explode?
No, but one of the Galaxy models like was exploding a few years back.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was good. Beep, beep, beep. You know, I've always subscribed to the belief that I don't care what phone people use. When did people care?
Once the iPhone came out.
Why? Wait, I mean,
because iPhone.
I feel like it was after that. It was like it wasn't like the iPhone. It was when
the iPhone like set that bar, like set that precedent.
Well, it was like because the iPhone was a monumental invention.
Oh yeah,
and then there were, of course, obviously everyone just started doing them, and then the ones who did it the best, other than Apple, was obviously Samsung. So then they created a Sega Nintendo rivalry, but no cool mascot.
But
to me, here's the difference, right? Sega had Sonic, Nintendo had Mario, so it's like, oh, Sonic's cooler than Mario. But with phones, it's like, well, I could call my brother. Yeah, me too.
I feel like there's enough of a difference to warrant like a separation, though. Not as much as a rivalry, because it's like, come on, it's a phone. Like,
I just think it's so funny, like when in public, I pull out my phone and people are like, "Oh, Apple, wow," and I'm like, "Is this necessary? I don't care."
That's like if someone had an Xbox One and someone had a PS4, and they weren't comparing the games or the software. They were just comparing the OSs, and they were getting all. They're like, whoa, nice.
You
wow,
scroll
nice
sideways to your games. I scroll horizontally.
Yeah, it's like, really? That's the difference. All right.
I will say this. I have a PS4 Pro, an Xbox One X, a Switch Lite, and a Switch Regular, right? I've got it all covered. Now, I absolutely do like a lot of things about the Xbox One X that I do like more than the PS4 Pro. But I'll say this: I can't fucking get used to the OS of the Xbox. They've never had a good one. It's horrible. No, this is the worst one. They've made it worse. At least 360 was like, what game do you want to play? It's like, okay, I'll just scroll over. It's kind of more like the PS4.
Yeah,
with the Xbox One X, I have it. I have Doom on there and Resident Evil and Neo. I mean, not Neo. That's a PS4 exclusive, but Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And I'm like, I play it pretty often. I play Outer Worlds on there and everything. And I'm like, okay, hold up. I'm pretty used to this thing by now, right? I played Final Fantasy 15 on an Xbox, the original whatever. I played Final Fantasy 15 on that bad boy. That's 100 hours, right? Yeah. I played a 100-hour game with the shit. I still can't fucking get used to it. I still boot that shit up and I go,
wait, how do I get to my...
How do I get to the games? How do I get them? Because I've been playing Persona and Final Fantasy 7, right? I boot up my PlayStation and it's just like Persona and Final Fantasy 7 are the first two things that are there, and I'm like, okay, cool. Xbox is like, unless I pin them to my start bar or whatever, I have to pin them.
I hope the PS5 OS. Because I'll always say like the PS3, the X bar for the PS3 is my favorite. Like I can navigate that thing like.
Oh yeah. I love the PS3.
If they fuse the X bar with the PS4, because I do like some of the stuff they added with the PS4. If they fuse those together somehow, like that would just be like the perfect. Or heck, even if they take the Switch one, just give us folders, and I'll be like the happiest boy ever. Just give me folders because I have so many freaking Switch games.
Why don't we have folders?
I don't know. And whenever they did that update where they're like, you can organize your stuff now, and I'm like, oh, finally we can organize. I have like 50 games. I'm like, awesome, I can organize it. And it's like you can sort it by title now. It's like, really?
I can't understand Nintendo.
I know.
I don't understand. They're
on the 3DS they had freaking folders, fully customizable folders on the 3DS.
Themes, folders.
I know.
Music. Where's the music? I just want some fun.
Oh yeah, there's no music on the Switch. It's kind of strange.
You know what? That's my number one. I'm gonna
say
it. That's my number one.
That's a good thing. That's your number one, right?
I put up a Nintendo console, and I want to hear some like dun dun.
I know. I want to hear some like.
I want to hear some music. I want elevator music, brother.
Ding 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 ding.
It
makes me want to stop.
We had the best. I think we had the best. That's the best thing about the Wii. Is the music, because the games are all aged horribly.
Yeah, I haven't played them in a while. I can't say.
I recently played Skyward Sword, Mario Galaxy.
I will always defend Skyward Sword, though. I will never
defend Skyward Sword.
I was so good at that game.
You can't be just. What do you mean you were?
I was good. I was good at using. Everyone's complaint is the controls were wily and you couldn't control it. Yeah, I never had a problem with it.
I did, big time. See, and here's the other thing: is they like the whole thing was like, oh, you know, Epona who we got a bird this time. You can't even.
We got a red bird now.
You have like 4 islands you can explore with the damn bird. You couldn't even do anything. Like it wasn't cool. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
It was an interesting, beautiful experiment in like a more story-focused Zelda.
It's one of those Zeldas where I'm like, it's my least favorite 3D Zelda. Everyone's like, and I'm like 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I know. Whenever, yeah, I always use that example. It's like the worst Zelda is still an amazing game.
It's still a pretty good game. I mean, it's not like I'm saying it's a bad game. It's like compared. I mean, I guess it's kind of like Metal Gear. Like Zeldas are similar to Metal Gear mainline games. Like it's like the worst one's still like, an 8. It's okay.
Yeah, like, you know what? Yeah, the weakest one. Even though with Metal Gear, everyone has
a different one.
Yeah.
There's no consensus.
There is no consensus with Metal Gear.
The same thing with Zelda. Consensus.
Yeah. There's
none. Zelda's
I guess
Ocarina
and Snake Eater are kind of the unanimous, like, usual suspects, when people say best of, they're like, oh, obviously Snake Eater. It's like, that's hard to argue.
Link to the Past and Metal Gear 1, I feel like, are on the same page on that one too. Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. I love Metal Gear Solid 1's my favorite.
It's
so tight.
I personally think for me it's 4, 1, 3, 2. Peace Walker, and then 5. Mainline series. I mean, I'm not talking about. I mean, the NES one I don't really throw in there, and the Game Boy one. I honestly, I've never even remotely done anything resembling finishing the Metal Gear.
Yeah, Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Metal Gear 1 is so hard. How do you even fucking play that game?
It's easier. It's easier on the original, the MSX version, the ones that came on Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence.
Mm-hmm.
The original one's a little easier because the NES had a lot more technical setbacks compared to the MSX.
Why didn't they release those versions on the HD collection?
They did.
Those were the versions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're hidden within.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I remember now. You have to go to Metal Gear 3, and then it's in that menu.
Yeah.
Metal
Gear Solid 2 MSX 2 version.
Game Boy. That's the Game Boy one, right?
No. It's Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. It's the one where you actually was where you go to Zanzibar Land and you fight the actual big boss and you just let him on fire with a can of hairspray and a lighter. And he's like, "I'm your father."
Have I played that one?
Oh, you should. It's great.
What was that on? Was that a fan? Was that an NES?
No, it never came over here.
Right. So okay. So it was Famicom.
No. No. The original Metal Gears were on the MSX2, which is like a computer. It's kind of like a Commodore, you know, like back in the day where computers and video game hardware kind of intersected for a while there.
Oh, okay.
Like with the Atari and the Commodore.
That's the one with all the like greens and shit, right? With like the green, the map. It's like kind of green. It's in the Metal Gear 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I remember.
Yeah. That's a really cool game. That's a really cool game. It actually still plays pretty well.
So that one came before Metal Gear 1 for NES?
No. Basically, what happened was...
Give me a timeline.
I'll give you a timeline.
Give me a timeline.
Kojima got hired on Konami. He wanted to make his own game. That got canned. Konami was like, "Hey, make this. You have to make a game that's like an action game. Make it like you ever play the old game Commando? It's kind of like Akari Warriors kind of.
I love it. I love Akari Warriors is amazing.
They're like, make an Akari Warriors for us, and he's like,
I still have Akari Warriors.
He's like, I don't want to, and like the hardware that they gave him, it was hard for him to make more enemies on the screen at once without slowing the game down to a crawl. So he's like, I'll just make a game where you're avoided. You have to avoid combat.
You're a sneaky baby.
He's like, I'm gonna make a first test of the game. So he makes Metal Gear. That's really popular. Konami's Western division, Ultra Games, which they publish all like the lower, like the B team Konami stuff. They ported over to America.
Were they the ones that did the TMNT NES game?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. They
the one where you have to defuse the bombs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself every time I think about it.
That was Ultra. That was Ultra Games, which is like a U.S. subdivision of Konami. And Kojima was not impressed by the NES port. He was like, "This is not good." And without his permission, Ultra made a sequel to Metal Gear called Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge, which was on NES. It was a terrible game. Kojima hated it. He's like, "Fine, I'm gonna make my own sequel because that's garbage."
This one was never released in the U.S. But
Snake's Revenge?
Yeah.
Snake's Revenge.
It was? What?
Yeah, it's not good.
For the NES.
For the NES.
You can find this cart.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this was before or after Metal Gear?
This was after.
And this is before the Game Boy version?
Yeah, the Game Boy version came after Metal Gear Solid.
What? Did it really?
Yeah, it was a Game Boy Color game.
Game Boy timelines are impossible to follow.
I know because
the
life of the Game Boy is so long.
It's like fucking 15 years.
It's such a long life. It's one of the longest console lifespans out there. The Game Boy is so long. Because it all fused together because the Game Boy and Game Boy Color was kind of one entire lifeline.
Yeah, I think of it as one console.
Together. Yeah, it was one console. So Kojima hated what they did with his sequel. So he's like, okay, I'll make my own sequel. And that was Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which only came out in Japan. And then that was really popular over there.
And that one was on which console?
That was on the MSX2 as well.
The MSX2, okay. And the MSX2 was a computer that was really only popular in Japan. We didn't have it here. Okay.
You beat Phantom Pain, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You remember the end where Venom takes the tape, he flips it over, and he puts it in that little machine, and he presses play, and a blue screen pops up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the MSX2. That's actually a callback to in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. One of the scientists hides his test data that he's hiding. He hides it in an MSX2 cartridge, and at the end of the game, you retrieve it, and like the characters put it on the MSX. The system reboots, and you see the boot screen, and like the guy's name Kiyomar is like VRAM. It's like his name backwards, and it's like, yep, this is the right one. The data's in this MX2 cartridge. Weird callback to some random
knowledge, man. I can't believe I'm so ignorant on the early days of Metal Gear. I really thought it was like Metal Gear, and then the Game Boy one, and then that one weird one, the Metal Gear 2, the Snakes. Yeah. And I was always confused as to what console that was on, but I assumed it was like Famicom, and it just never came here.
No, it came here. If it's funny because if it wasn't for Snake's Revenge, we probably would have never, like, Metal Gear might have died at that point.
Could you imagine if they had made a Metal Gear game for the SNES?
It would have been perfect. It would have been perfect.
So good.
Yeah, it would have fit in perfectly because honestly, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake plays pretty much exactly like Metal Gear Solid. There's not a lot of like, because Metal Gear Solid 1 is a 2D game, all things considered. Apart from the cutscenes, it's a 2D game. Like there's no camera movement. It's all bird's eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that second Metal Gear pretty much plays exactly like Metal Gear Solid. Like you can crawl, you can hide under stuff, but it's all
in the back of trucks and get secret weapons.
Yeah.
And shit. Yeah.
So a Super Nintendo one would have been. It would have fit. It would have done perfect.
That was like the first game I remember that like you kind of had to have a guide. Like you almost like couldn't play that game without a guide. In my opinion, I was like
Solid 1.
No, like Metal Gear 1.
Oh, God, yeah.
SNES. I mean, NES.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of secrets.
When I played through them, I had to use a guide.
That game was crazy. And you know what's crazy, too, is I remember as a kid, I actually didn't like Metal Gear because it was so fucking hard. Like, it was just like, I'm like, oh, cool. I spawn. I get past these guys, and then there's those two guys patrolling around that little thing. And it was impossible to get past that part. I'm like, what the fuck? And if you did, you're like, okay, I don't still have any weapons or anything. Like, where do I go? And you go in the back of a truck and find like a fucking ration or something, and you're like, cool. Yeah. And then like I would always die like after that. The dogs were horrible. Yeah. And then the one thing I remember is, as a child, I remember very vividly video game music for obvious reasons.
Oh, I love the music.
And the things that would stick with me, there was 5 game franchises that stuck with me for obvious reasons. There was Zelda was obvious, no shit. Yeah. And then Zelda 1, Final Fantasy 1, Mega Man, and Castlevania, and Metal Gear, because those were the games where I hated Metal Gear. Oh, Double Dragon also. Mm-hmm. Metal Gear, I was like, I don't enjoy this game, but I would start the first level and literally just sit there and listen to the do do dee do 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 dee do 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 dee do. I actually ripped off that. I ripped off that riff. It's in one of my Top Hat Killer songs. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, NES Metal Gear did. I mean, it pretty much just 8-bitted the MSX2 music, but such great music.
It was.
Look up the intro. Look up the intro, like menu cutscene to Metal Gear 2. And you'll just be like, what?
So here's one thing I want to ask.
Man.
I want to ask if you remember this. Do you remember these VHS tapes that you could find in like Hastings and shit, and these like bargain bins, and they were guide tapes, and they would have so the one I owned, the one I bought, it was a guide tape, and the reason I bought it was for TMNT. And it was a guide tape. It would have 4 or 5 games on it, and you put the VHS in, and it just is a guide telling you how to get past like hard parts of the game, sort of like a fast forward of the whole game.
Yeah,
it was fucking awesome.
I don't remember those.
It was like these. It was a hint tape, and the games I remember in this one was Metal Gear, Skate or Die,
Skater.
TMNT, and King's Quest.
King's Quest.
And King's Quest is the only one of those I've still never played. But they were all NES games. And I would watch this fucking thing over and over again. I would put this tape in like when I was eating like breakfast and shit. Like when my parents, like on the weekends and stuff, I just put the VHS tape in and I watch it over and over again. So even though I'd never really played a bunch of Metal Gear or anything, I knew like the whole damn story. I knew all the bosses and I knew all the ways to beat them and stuff. I remember specifically because I never played this part of the game, but I remember specifically there's a part where you fight just like a computer, a giant computer screen. Yeah. And he's just like shooting rockets at it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. I wish I could get there in the game. But the fucking reason I bought it was to figure out how to beat the damn water level in TMNT. And it didn't help.
It was like, be good.
Yeah, it was like, don't suck.
Don't die. It's like, wow.
Don't drown. Disarm all the bombs. I
succeeded in not drowning, Colonel.
It's Colonel. It's Raphael. But yeah, dude, I mentioned these tapes to people and they're like, what? Like,
no, I've never heard of those.
And at first I'm like, oh, maybe, because I was like, oh, maybe it's a Konami thing because, you have TMNT and you have Metal Gear, but then King's Quest and Skate or Die were Konami.
No.
I don't think. But I think it was King's Quest. It was King's something. Pretty sure it was King's Quest. And you because it was like different mini games. It was like jousting, and then there was like archery or something. I don't fucking remember. That was the one I liked the least out of the guides. But it was the original. This is what I tell people. You know how kids love to pull up YouTube and watch gameplay footage and
game
people
tips,
talk over
let's
it.
Plays, yeah.
That is the original version, man. It's the first one where the guy's like, you gotta go here and you gotta kill the computer thing.
Oh, you gotta go over here now. You're gonna fight a computer, all right? I know it sounds dumb, but you gotta fight a computer.
You gotta kill it. It's fine.
Yeah, that was the original boss in the US Metal Gear was a giant computer, which doesn't make any sense. The whole point of the game is you infiltrating and taking down a Metal Gear.
That's why I always thought it was weird that you're destroying a giant computer screen. I was like, wait, what is that?
Which is really funny because it's like, it's again going back to the end of Phantom Pain. It's almost that also is almost a callback because that very last bit of Phantom Pain swaps over to Venom in Outer Heaven, and he's in front of a giant blue screen. And it's like another little callback to like Metal Gear history. It's like he's in front of this giant blue screen. It's like, it's funny.
I get ya.
It was good. It was good.
So, and then from what I remember, Gray Fox is like your ally, right?
Yeah, Gray Fox works alongside you and Foxhound.
He's like giving you like items and shit throughout the game, isn't he?
No, Gray Fox Basically, before Snake went on his mission, Operation Intrude in 313, there's N1 312. That was when Gray Fox went in first to try to stop not the Metal Gear, because the Metal Gear hadn't been discovered yet, but to investigate this uprising. Foxhound sent him in, but I mean, it was Big Boss who sent him in, and Big Boss and Gray Fox are old buddies, so you pretty much send him in to like cover his ass. Like, well, I'm gonna send this guy in. Oh no, he got captured. Whoa! I guess I'll have to send in this rookie who's my clone, who I think is nothing to me because he's a pathetic clone, and he sends him in and he kills his psychic double. He's like, shit.
and then Gray Fox becomes a zombie in a fucking life suit.
Well, that comes after. Like he gets
he dies. He gets blown up.
You rescue him in one, and then he disappears. Goes and works with Big Boss in Zanzibar Land, and then you fight him in a minefield. You fist fight him in a minefield, which is like the coolest sounding fight ever.
Fist fight in a minefield is the best band name I think I've ever heard.
It's good. And then he gets blown up, and then freaking paramedic takes him and just turns him into a freaking tortured monster. What a bitch.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. That's fist fight in a minefield. That's great.
Fist fight in a minefield.
Fist fight in a minefield.
That's a
Dio
very
song.
Lyric, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. My favorite Dio song. Yeah, man. So this appears to be working.
Yeah, it's working good. How far are you in Final Fantasy VII?
Oh, I am on chapter. I won't say, but I'm on chapter 12. You're definitely coming. You're coming. I started first, and I was going, and then you're coming at me. You're coming up on me, and I'm going. Oh, fuck.
At you, bro.
You're definitely in the best chapter right now. I'll tell you. But I'm in. I mean, obviously, there's like, oh, don't spoil anything. But I mean, there's obviously like really intense things that happen in the regular game. I'm at the part where the resistance fighters are fighting against the Turks who are in the helicopter.
Oh, you're at the. Ooh, yeah, that's an intense part.
Yeah,
I can't. I think that's the scene I'm most excited to see, because that was always one of my favorite scenes in the original. Like the plate falling, and you hear all those people screaming, and like you see someone look up, and it's just like, it's like.
I'm really interested to see where they go with it, with these visuals.
Oh gosh!
But I will say this, man, what they've done what they did with Chapter 9 was absolutely amazing. I'm really surprised how well they pulled that off, because I was the most worried about that part.
Yeah,
the Don Corneo and all that. I was very worried about how they were going to pull that off.
That's the one I'm least worried about, honestly.
Oh man, they nail it. It's so good. And then obviously there's the sewers and all that, and then and then there's the
train graveyard.
The train graveyard is great.
Nice.
They really, I think, dude, honestly, I feel like, I don't know if I was in a weird funk or something when I first started the game, but like the beginning of the game for me with the demo, right? Obviously that part is really strong, but I played the demo like 5 fucking times.
I only played it once.
So I was like, fuck, I gotta do this again.
Yeah, I didn't want that to happen, so I only played it once. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play this once, and then I'm just gonna, the next time I play it, it's gonna be in the full context, so I don't like first hour just like, oh my gosh, I know.
I kind of wish they did what they did with the quest lining, the way they did the quest lines in Walmart Market.
It's Walmart.
In Walmart. Let's call it Walmart. So the part in Walmart, I wish the way the quest all works out is really well done, and I think they do it really well. And I kind of wish they would have had that fluidity earlier in the game when you're doing those side quests in the towns, where it's just like, go find 5 cats and go
the
find
first Sector
the kid.
7's. Yes, Sector 7's odd jobs were kind of weak, but Sector 5's odd jobs I liked. Like I felt like they added some good world building and some like.
But 7 was first, here. Right?
Yeah.
Agree. I didn't mind the 5s as much.
Yeah.
Because the
7's was pretty rough. It was like, really, I got to look for cats.
The cats was where I was like, oh, you fucking.
Yeah, I was worried. But so far I like how they split it up though, because it seems like it's like we're gonna funnel you into a linear experience, which I don't mind. Whatever. Not every game has to be a freaking open world experience, okay? But like it's like a funneled hand-holding experience, which I'm okay with. And then you get to a new sector, and then you have a few odd jobs that you can do. They're not super important. You just get a few extra little items here and there if you want it, and then you go on through the linear experience. I kind of like that kind of like. It's almost like the old Final Fantasy experience, where it's like you're on this linear path, and then you get to the open world, and then it gives you the illusion of like
It's an illusion of an open
exactly.
game.
It gives you the illusion, and then you get to the next town, and then you're linear again. You know what I mean? It's kind of that same kind of like open.
I'm okay with that. So my only real big problem so far, other than I think the pacing of Reactor 5 was
it's long.
It's too, to me, that was the only part of the game. Obviously, like you said, this game is nothing but padding, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the definition. The whole
this game is literally
the creation 25. Of the game was the whole creation of the game was an experiment in padding.
Yeah, the whole and you're right, but like a lot of like 85 to 90% of the padding has been really well done. Yeah. Like the
at least interesting and visually, like one thing this game does well is like visual storytelling. It's very good in this, which Square usually is not very good at visual storytelling when it comes to their big RPGs. Like it's usually just dumping, but in this game it's like they know they already have an audience.
You? Well, that's
I'm good.
Story
I'm going to
explain.
As you know, blah blah blah.
My name's Swanning Sun Sword Farce, and I come from a land called like, Bookie Pops.
Yeah, because they haven't done any as you know exposition, because it's like in any other game, especially any other Square Enix game, they would have been like within the first hour, Square would have been like, or Cloud would have been like, it would have been like, can you explain to me materia again? And then someone would be like, as you know, materia is the condensed form of make. You know what I
mean? It would devolve into a Metal Gear type thing where they
diatribe of exposition.
Materia started as an experimental kernel. What's materia?
Yeah. They surprisingly
back in 1984.
They haven't done that at all in the game. I'm very surprised that they haven't done that.
Yeah. And then so you have sector. So my biggest issue as far as padding goes has just really been just the sector 5, and it's not terrible. It's just
it's not terrible, but it's a little
it was too long, and I feel like a lot of it was just running down those train tracks, and I was just like, okay, we could cut this a little bit and get to the part. There was just so many different parts of that little dungeon that I was like, that's why I messaged you. I was like, how long was it in the original game? I don't remember it being this long.
Actually, it was shorter. I think it was, no, it wasn't shorter. It was a little bit longer than the first run.
The first run, which is what it should have been. But it's fine. It's a little minor quibble I have. I didn't think
cool, like you. It's another good example of like world building, like the part where you're underneath the plate and you're going around and turning off those big sun lamps.
Yeah, the lamps. If you look, each lamp is actually like a source for the city or whatever.
Yeah, that's so, because I never thought about like the slums. You look up, there's the plate, and then there's lights. It's like, oh, so lights. I'm up there right now, turning off the lights.
See, here is my problem. So I feel like that whole dungeon could have just been you in the train track, because obviously the train tracks are the beginning of the original.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be a little long.
You running on the train tracks for a little bit, and then you immediately getting into that room where you're turning off the lights. But for some reason, they did this whole weird stairwell thing. And another minor problem I have with the game is there's so many fucking ladders and things for you to take. Ladders. It's like Jesus Christ. Every time I'm like in a fucking pace. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta duck under the thing and then climb up the ladder and then slide down another ladder. And it's
but hey, they give you the ability to slide down ladders.
Yes, I will concede to that one.
You take victories where you can get them.
But I will say, so far the game has become much better to me. I think the game has pacing issues, but I think the pacing, and I will say, as far as padding goes, the way to do padding right is the roach stuff, right?
Yeah.
The whole side quest where you're going to get the explosive.
Yeah, that was
so fucking cool. It was just a big battle arena, and then you fought this badass new character. It was like,
and I liked learning more of Jessie and her motives and her history
and her family
and her father, and this is like really interesting.
Her father and sneaking into her house and shit. I was like, this is so cool. This feels like I don't know. It felt like a fucking David Cage game for a second or something. Like I was like, what are we doing?
It does kind of have David Cage elements at some points.
But I really dug that. And then the further on you go, I've realized quality has sort of stepped it up. And I'm wondering if there was almost a development cycle where they were like, all right, so here's the game. We got about 35 hours of gameplay here. Where do we want to stick? What parts do you think are the strongest? What parts do you think here? And they said, they say you read a book, you're going to remember the intro the most, you're going to remember the end the most, and you're going to remember the ramp up to the end.
Mm-hmm.
The part that you're going to forget the most is the spot right after that big intro. That's sort of the first downtime is the thing that's going to stick in your mind the least. And to me, I feel like that's why they put Sector 5 there, because they were like, this is the weakest part of the game, so we're going to put it here.
Yeah.
Because so far it's just been quality. Like everything to me has felt like I almost wish that Sector 5 was laid out like the train graveyard. Because the train graveyard, I won't spoil anything because it's, whatever, but it's really well done. It's just really well done.
Nice.
It's intense. It's scary.
That's one thing. I'm like, I remember there being a lot of ghosts in train graveyard.
Play it with headphones on. It's actually like, it's got some really good environmental.
The sound design is pretty freaking good.
Oh,
the soundtrack is awesome. I'm pretty sure
there's the new songs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the new songs are by what's her name? I forgot her name.
The one who did
13,
15.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did 13 and 15. Which
those
soundtracks are the best parts of those games. Like she's a very good composer.
I mean, soundtracks are the best parts of most Final Fantasy games. Just because, I mean, honestly, and listening to this game and not only hearing the amazing versions of the soundtracks, but then sometimes getting those jukeboxes.
Yes.
And hearing the cool, weird,
like oh my gosh, that's Kate Sith, but all jazz rock. What the?
Yeah, hearing that.
That's all Uematsu, because he's such a jazz head, man. Like he's behind those.
I love him. I would kiss that man.
I would
on his face.
Yes, in his face.
Inside of his face, in his mouth. Only on the inside of this. Not on the outside, because
I kiss him on the cheek. I mean the inside. Inside.
Not on the outside. I'm married.
I'm married. Who do you think I am?
Who do you think I am? Some sort of whore? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm digging it, man. I really am. I was a little sour on it at first. I was kind of like, because I heard so many people praising it. That people were saying best remake ever, and it was getting really great reviews. And I was like, are we playing the same fucking game? Because this is good, but it's like, I don't know. It's fine. The level design, I still will say, I don't think the level design is anything to write home about. I do think I think
it's passable and good.
Yeah. Now,
but you know what? Final Fantasies have never been known for their great level design. I mean, it's always been about world design, world building, characterizations. Like, if I have to let the game handhold me and like walk through some kind of lame dungeons, that's kind of part of the core when it comes to Final Fantasy. So
my biggest problem with the game so far, and I don't know, maybe this gets alleviated further on. This absolutely is no spoilers. This is just a general thing. I want a fucking place to grind. I don't care that it's not open world, but I want to grind a little bit. I can't.
Can you replay? Can you replay those summon battles? The VR mission summon battles?
That's a good thing. I haven't tried to replay them.
Me either.
But I mean, I wish enemies would kind of like.
But I feel like the thing is, like, just like Final Fantasy VII, the original, I've yet to feel the need to grind, though.
Okay, see, that's not the fucking point.
It is the point, because the original one, you didn't need to grind almost at any point in that game.
But
like, it was just the difficulty arc was perfectly matched with the growth arc. Like, it was perfect.
But here's the thing. I don't give a shit about the difficulty arc about a game. If I'm playing an RPG, I want the option to level up to insanity.
Okay. Options are good.
Wreck everybody.
I'm sure there's going to be like somewhere in Shinra Tower where you can in-game grind your face off.
I'm an American citizen and I need a spot to grind or I will freak out. No, I agree with you. It's actually forced.
I'd rather have the lack of option of grinding taken away than like grinding being forced on me.
No, I don't want to be forced.
No?
Here's my thing. My favorite thing about RPGs is when you hit a boss and it just fucking knocks you to death, and you're like, because there is a side quest at one point. Hold on, you've probably already gone. Yeah, you've already beaten it. So okay, you remember there's it's not even spoilers. It's just a fucking side quest. In Sector 5-7, whatever, Sector 5. I don't remember the second place. When you have to fight those scorpions.
Oh, yeah, at the graveyard?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only part in the whole game so far that's
Really?
just fucking kicked my ass like 3 times.
What?
And it's because they when you get for some reason, I want to call Square right now, by the way, and be like, why when you get poisoned do you fucking fall asleep now?
Yeah, that's kind of not what poison is.
No, and
never has
sleep. Been. Sleep is literally another thing.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't like.
Why the hell do you fall asleep when you're like, oh, I'm so tired? It's like, what?
You're poisoned. Lose health.
So now I take damage and I'm asleep.
And I'm gonna take more damage because I can't move. Cool.
And for some reason, I guess I didn't use the the thing that tells you like, hey, these guys are weak to the thing.
The assess. Why did they call it assess? What happened to just sense?
Right, I agree.
What the hell is that?
Also, here's my other thing. Okay, here's
what is the deal?
I want to say this because I'm absolutely loving this game. I don't want to like come off as like a fucking hater. Here's the thing. Final Fantasy VII is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. It is probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. And I've realized that recently because every fucking moment in my brain, because I have such a musical head. You know what I'm saying? I give musical head if you are willing to pay. I mean, after the pandemic anyways. So for me, because it's just been stuck in my head so much, I've realized how fucking brilliant the battle music, the regular battle music, and the boss music is in this game. And when they orchestrate it, it makes you realize how even more brilliant it originally was, because it's like it was so amazing to begin with, but then hearing flutes and fucking violins and shit, like
it transfers over so well to a full arrangement. You know, and that just goes to show you how great Uematsu is. He's thinking as an orchestrator, not just someone making video game music. You know,
and so every video game soundtrack has its moments, and here's where my brain goes is I always fixate on not even a single track, but a single part of a track, and it gets stuck in my head, and so that's all I hear forever. So like here's what's been stuck in my head for like 3 weeks, because I was so psyched for this remake. I've been like listening to it, and then all I get stuck in my head is I can't get that out of my fucking head. It's in my head forever. I love it. I love it so much. And then the remix is so good. It's so fucking good. I get a boner every time I
One
say
thing,
that.
It's almost a shame that this game is as good as it is, because like, what are they gonna do next?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's like,
how are they gonna handle? Because another thing is this game is on 2 discs, and this is just the linear section. Yeah. Because you downloaded it, right?
Yeah, I downloaded it.
So this is the only game other than Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. Is it actually on 2 discs, or is one an install and one's a play?
One's an install, one's a play. Just like Red Dead.
Yeah,
but like that's crazy, because this game is fairly linear.
Yes.
And fairly short.
I've heard it's so large because and I totally agree. If you actually look, going back to the world building visually, is that they had so many original assets in the game, and you can tell because I've been trying to pay attention specifically to the world around me when I walk around, and like they rarely reuse assets. Like
Mhm.
everything looks different. It's
Yeah.
really pretty impressive. Like,
Well, not to mention, it may have the best character models
they
I've
they
ever
look
seen.
really good.
I
I mean,
mean,
NPCs with
it looks
sanity.
like I'm. It looks like, well, okay.
main characters look absolutely, especially those close-ups. It's like, wow, that looks really good.
That's why I'm saying, like, it takes me out of it, because like Cloud and Aerith, they'll be talking and it's just like their fucking hair is moving and their clothes are moving and their like expressions, and they look amazing. It looks like you're watching Advent Children.
Yeah.
And then you go up to a little boy who's like, I've lost my cat, dude.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this little boy, like his giant buck teeth and like no textures. His face has no texture on it, and he's just like a fucking chili bowl, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this looks so out of place. And like, Cloud's hair is like glistening in the fucking, the sunlight. This little boy has like, this like two-dimensional.
It doesn't disorient me as much as it makes me laugh when I see it. It doesn't take me out of the experience though.
It's not really.
It's just like,
because
it's like these like 4K characters walk into a PS3 game. It's just like, but you know, the sad thing, those NPCs still look better than any Fallout 4 character.
Because every time you go to talk to a Fallout 4 character, it zooms into their face like, hello.
Oh,
let me tell you about a quest I have. It's really good. You gotta go kill 40 scorpions. It started with Oblivion. And
yeah,
that's why. Remember in Skyrim, they like took that away, right? They didn't zoom into the face. It's like, hello, I have a quest line. My house is haunted. I need you to kill the ghost for me.
That's a good quest.
Yeah.
You know, Oblivion.
Oh yeah.
Ghost.
Oh yeah.
Anvil. Yeah.
I miss Oblivion. I miss the days when
I miss the nostalgia. I have nostalgia for Oblivion. I have deep nostalgia, but
I recognize that Skyrim is a better video game, but I
can't agree with that. I honestly can't. Just because something is a smoother experience. Just because something's a smoother experience.
That's what I'm saying. It
doesn't mean that it's a better.
It's like, okay, objectively, I think we can all agree that like that game as a video game
on a technical level.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying on
as a video game
metaphysical level.
Experientially, I still enjoy Oblivion far more than Skyrim. Like, it's just funner to. I don't know. It's just funner for me. Probably nostalgia, but I never really got into.
Well, because the thing about Oblivion and Morrowind actually like blew my fucking hole up. You know what I'm saying? My butthole exploded when I played those games. I had to go to the doctor.
I'd go to the doctor.
I had to go to the hospital. And then I'm not saying Skyrim didn't, blow me away a little bit, but I mean,
at that point, that genre and subgenre had already been. Other games already started doing that.
Because when I got home, I remember I bought like Oblivion was like the game where it was like, oh well, okay, I guess I have to buy a 360. I don't care which person I have to sleep with. I don't care what dogs I have to blow. I'm gonna buy a 360. And sure enough, I didn't have to do any of that because I actually applied for a credit card at the Best Buy, and they said, "Hey, you're good to go, pal."
Got one of those. Those are dangerous.
They are. I still owe them.
It's like 40% APR or something.
It's like one of the highest I can get. I'm pretty impressed.
Like, higher's good, right?
Yeah. So I only owe like 60% interest. It's amazing.
It's fine.
But I remember going to Best Buy and just grabbing. I got an Xbox 360, Oblivion, and Dead Rising. And those were like probably the two best. I don't know if they were launch games, if you could call them launch games. I don't think they were. I don't know that it was considered launch games, but they were like the game. It was like
those were like the big, especially like Dead Rising. That was like one of the big.
Like Smash Brothers Melee wasn't a launch game for the GameCube, but it was like it came out like a month later. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, it was like that.
Oh, long time. But
So anyways,
going back to Final Fantasy 7
yeah.
2, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the music? Like, are they just going to like? Because like, I mean, I love Final Fantasy 7 music, obviously, but it's like 77, 78 songs for a 40, 50-hour game. But now we're taking those tracks and we're spinning it over 150, 200 hours. Like, how are they going to do that? Are they going to do in the next game? Are they going to do like remixes to keep it fresh?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, they actually, we've already seen a little bit of that, right? And I I have noticed so far in the game, especially I don't know, spoil, like I said, especially recently what I played, there's been a few boss fights where the boss music didn't play and neither did the battle music. It was like a whole different composition. And I think it was an original. I think it was an original track. So I'm thinking,
I like the original track so far. There's one that was in the highway that leads from Sector 5 to 6, where I was supposed to fight a hell house, but there was no hell houses to be found.
Don't worry, they're not in the game.
No, I've already seen footage of them.
You know that it's there?
Well, but I wanted to fight one then. I'm like, where's my damn hell house?
Trust me, it's an amazing just that's it. That's all I'll say. It's better it's better than they ever did with it in the original. That's all I'll say.
Well, I imagine because they didn't do anything with it in the original.
Well, yeah, it was just a random enemy. But
it was just like an enemy to make you go, Hojo.
What
the hell?
But see, the thing
What's your problem?
Is in the context of this game, when you're fighting like smaller scale enemies and like physically there, you're not like getting twisted into a battle. It's like that would make zero sense if there was literally just a hell house just like bouncing around, just like looking for you. Like, where's he at? I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, but I mean, he was supposed to just be another one of those messed up Hojo experiments. At least in the original.
So,
Hojo. I can't wait till I get to Hojo.
Oh yeah, me too.
I can't wait for Shinra Tower. Shinra Tower is going to be so cool.
I've been thinking about that whole thing about Genova. And
oh my gosh! Yeah, I forgot you fight Genova.
Fuck, man. And I've been thinking about that whole thing. I'm like, I can't
Trail
wait.
of Blood.
I mean, oh yeah. Oh,
jeez,
and then getting to meet Red, because I mean, even though I know he's not like a playable party character, I know that he at some point he fights alongside you. You just can't control him.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. I mean, he doesn't need to be a playable member if he's at the very end of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, that would just leave people disappointed if they introduced this new character and it was like, oh, you get to play with him for 5 seconds and that was it. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me put all this badass materia shit on him and then he's gone.
Yeah.
I booted up my my Switch version because I got a new headset today because literally because I've been playing Final Fantasy with headphones on.
Yeah.
Because the music's just so fucking good. And every time I get into a battle, just a regular battle, I just get so hyped because the music is so good. And I mean, not to mention like the boss music. The only problem I have with it, though, I will say, is there is a rawness. There was a rawness to the original, especially the boss music, that is not translated when you use an orchestra.
No,
because with an orchestra, it's like and it's like there's no raw guitar there, which it's okay.
Maybe they'll have a rawer version at some point of the game.
Yeah, when you fight Heaven, the new character they're gonna make. It's me, Kevin. Bring it on.
Yeah, I really like the. I don't know. That's all I really wanted out of this game was like, just flesh out the setting and flesh out characters.
And
that's what I've. So far, they've delivered like Biggs and Wedge. I mean, I always liked Biggs and Wedge just as like a concept, right? You know what I mean?
Well,
Biggs and
because
Wedge.
they were Star Wars names.
Yeah, it was
so
like Biggs and Wedge, and one was fat and one was skinny. It was like Biggs and Wedge. But it's like now I'm just like Biggs and Wedge. Biggs like used to run an orphanage, and like Wedge is really like Wedge's voice is really funny, and like he's just like
you know, Wedge.
I'm just like this. I like these people. I don't want them to die.
So I found out that Wedge's voice actor, because I was sitting there, I was like,
that's the guy from
he was Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I didn't watch Breaking Bad. He was in Deadpool.
And in The Office too. He plays like Dwight's cousin or whatever in The Office.
Really?
But I was like, oh my god, of course that's where I know his fucking voice from.
Voice.
He has that raspy, fucking like lovable raspiness.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's fucking perfect. And yeah, I fucking love the way to me too is the way that Aerith and Tifa, to me, just as a kid, I played that game, you know, right when I was just like the puberty train, right, was just coming at me. So Aerith and Tifa for me were always just like, oh yeah,
Team Tifa.
Those are my two babies. And it was always so hard for me to pick because each one has such good qualities, right? Like you really like each one for their own reasons. And then so the way that they bring Jessie into it as almost a third viable option, and you're almost like, damn, I kind of like Jessie too. Like if you put a gun in my head right now, I don't know how I would choose.
But what's funny about Jessie though is, in a weird way, it's like you know that she's kind of just flirting with Cloud just to use him in some in some instances.
Hey,
you know, I think so.
Now.
No, I think so. I think she knows she's got it and she's using it. All right. For one, she's an actress. First of all, she's an actress. Can't trust actresses. All right. That's number one. Number two.
Really hurt my feelings here. I thought she really loved me.
I'm not saying she does, but I'm just saying, you know. I mean, she's an actress turned eco-terrorist. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't pass. I'm going for Tifa. Okay.
That wasn't in the original, right? They never talked about how she was an actress.
No.
Okay. I was like, which is very good, really cool too. They're at a whole different dimension to her with that.
Yeah, it's like she used to work at the Golden Saucer and
her friend that she lives with these like actress chicks and stuff. Like she lives in a house with like nothing but like, you know, hot chicks. You can't even like go in there. Yeah, that was cool. I was like, what?
Right.
So for me, the fact that they made her such an appealing, viable third option that is so different from the other two.
Yeah,
and she's got the rebelliousness. She is the active rebel, right? Whereas Tifa is trying to stray away from that, and then Aerith is all about peace, right? Like she's totally a hippie.
Is she though?
Well,
see, that's why I love this game so much, because it restores. I was telling you earlier, it restores the old characterization where Tifa is the brawling badass who is actually a big softie who's very reserved, and Aerith is this hippie who's like really kinky and weird and always tries to fuck with people, and like it's great.
If you've seen it, yeah, and then also between the two of them, Aerith is the only one who between the two has actually cussed.
Yeah. Exactly.
She's like, there's like a part where she's like, "Oh shit," or whatever.
Yeah, where she like misses, like the ladder falls, and she's like, "Shit!" And that's it. I'm just like, "Whoa!"
I love.
Cursed is cursed.
I will say this: I absolutely love what they've done with Reno and Rude.
I mean, they haven't done anything that they haven't done before in other works, but
of course. But I'm just saying, as an interactive experience.
Yeah, giving us a chance to fight Reno and Rude, because in Midgar
they were both challenging fights. They weren't like super easy or anything. They were actually two of the hardest fights.
Yeah, in the game, Reno was giving me a problem. Rude, I kind of stomped him, but Reno was like,
other way. I'm the other way.
Really?
I took out Reno fairly easily, and Rude was the one because he kept doing that block. He kept fucking doing that block thing and countering me, and I was like, "What do I do?"
I liked how in the Rude fight you could play as Eris, and he wouldn't like really hurt. Rude wouldn't hurt Eris a lot. He would just like if he goes up to me, he just kind of like smacks her, he just kind of like backhands her a little bit, but it does a lot of damage. It's just like this, like
he just didn't he didn't want to like physically like
he didn't want to like
they didn't want to show him.
He just like it's like bah, or he like tosses her away, and it's just like that's a nice touch.
I also already like the slight like obviously them both sort of questioning whether or not what they're doing is right. Like them already being kind of that like three-dimensional character.
Because
like,
there's only there's Reno, Rude, Elena, and Singh. Those are the only Turks left. Like the Turks got wiped out by the old Avalanche Guard, and like you never really even in the extraneous works, it never goes into like how the Turks like reacted to this. Because like I don't know, because it's like there's only like 4 Turks left. Like what the hell? It used to be like a small army of agents.
Well, now there's like it's nobody's business but the Turks.
Well, I mean, they must be giants. References.
Nailed it. But yeah, so far, I'm at chapter 12, and I believe there's 18 chapters, and I'm liking it. I'm way more keen on it, man. I don't know what was going on. I was playing Persona 5 Gold or Royal, whatever, the good version. And that game is in a lot of ways, and I started to wonder because I did in 2017 I played Breath of the Wild came out right before Horizon Zero Dawn, or was it right after? One of those.
It was before.
Yeah, and so I started playing Breath of the Wild, and I fell in love with that game, and it was such an amazing, just like I don't have to explain it to anyone. I mean, come on. Great game. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, again, a great game in its own right. Still a really good game. But like as far as open world stuff goes, there was stuff that I just was like, wait, I can't climb this wall. Wait, what? Wait, what's happening? I don't love this, and it was not initially nearly as charming for me, and I started feeling like I was falling into that same thing where I was like Persona 5 Royal Edition, in a lot of ways, is a 10 out of 10 RPG, and it's almost. I mean, it literally. I can't think of a single flaw in that game. It's like fucking 10 out of 10 perfect. Like it's so good. It's polished insanely, and it's even the original Persona 5. I mean, if you look at the Metacritic score on that game, it's at a 95, which is like a point below Ocarina of Time. Like that game's crazy. Like that game is such a good game, but and so I was so worried that like Final Fantasy Remake was coming in, and I was so hyped for it that I was playing this 10 out of 10 game, and then I was going to go to this other game that was like even if it was an 8 out of 10, it was still like, shit, I'm not enjoying this as much, and because it is an RPG. But I think it just needed to click with me, and I think and the other thing with Persona, right, and the same with Breath of the Wild, right, is they both had these cell shaded art styles, and they were so stylish, and they had such a great like image. Whereas you go to these other games that are a little more realistic, like Horizon or Final Fantasy, where they're trying to be the graphical powerhouse. Yeah. And it ends up being a little shortcoming. And you're just like, they're like, initially I remember playing 7, and in that opening area, you go to the hotel you're in, right, in Sector 7.
Yeah. And the door.
The door, man, has like no texture on it. And I was immediately like, what the fuck?
Like,
how is there no texture on this door?
I know.
Like, it looks like it's
the weirdest thing. That's the only time I've ever seen that. Really,
there's like 2 other spots in Sector 7, but it's only in Sector 7 that I saw.
It's so weird.
There's another.
It had to be door. It had to be at your home door where you go to often, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like what are What
I
happened?
know. I was like, you couldn't have just made that texture the roof or something, and not the door that like the camera zooms in on as you're opening it. And I was just like, again, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but Cloud is so well detailed. He made you the best character model I've ever seen in a video game. I mean, like literally, I don't think I've seen a better character model than Cloud.
I remember saying the same thing in the original, in the battle. I remember seeing like not in the battles, in the cutscenes, in the CGI cutscenes. I remember saying, "This is the best. There's never going to be any better than this."
Oh yeah, especially when like was it Emerald or Omega? Which is the weapon that blows up Midgar?
Diamond
weapon. When Diamond Weapon blows at Midgar, that fucking sequence, I was like
games are never gonna look. It's never gonna get better than this.
Well, I remember thinking that when I was playing that demo in '97, and just playing the reactor part, and again, it's so trippy that the demo was the same demo, right? It was so trippy because it was like I played this fucking demo in '97, and I was so hyped, and I'm doing the same thing. It's brilliant in a lot of ways, but it's like
it was really smart for them to release the demo like that.
And I remember thinking the way when the blocky characters were running around on the PS1, you know, you're like, okay, this game looks really good. This looks about as good as most games look right now, right? Like Crash Bandicoot and that all, right? It kind of looks like the blockiness and all that. But when you got into a battle, remember? The first time you got into a battle in 7, you were like, holy shit, everyone looks amazing. And you're like, it looks real. This is real life.
But everything before that was like super deformed. All the characters, even in battle, except for the enemies were always like these intricately drawn things. You know what I mean? And it was like the characters were always super deformed.
Back then, didn't affect you because you had never played. Because
everything else was like that.
Yeah, it was
especially RPG wise. Like in 1997, RPGs did not look good because they were all trying. Like Wild Arms, I like Wild Arms, but that game does not look good. No, and it was a really smart decision for them to go for the pre-rendered backgrounds because it really worked. It kind of tricked your brain into being like, oh, this actually just looks a lot better than it actually is.
And it actually makes the game age better too. Yeah. Like I stand by this. People sit there and say that Final Fantasy VII didn't age well. I absolutely do disagree with that. I played some of it today on Switch, and I still think that game looks pretty fucking good compared to most of the games on PS1 that look like complete garbage.
Yeah,
I think the games that aged the best on PS1 were all the Final Fantasies, Chrono Cross, Metal Gear 1, Symphony of the Night aged the best. And
but that almost doesn't count because it's like it's sprite based. It's like
Vagrant Story.
Vagrant Story. Yeah,
But see, Chrono Cross and Vagrant Story were like at the tail end.
Yeah,
you know, those were games where they were taking full advantage of everything.
Not 9 too. 9 was one of the
9. Yeah,
9 songs.
That game's beautiful.
That game broke my first PS1.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Killed the hell out of it.
Why? What do you mean? It just you were like loading and it just was like no.
It was in that beginning where your airship crashes after you kidnap the princess and it crashes in the forests, and it's where you first get out and you're looking for Princess Garnet, and you go over this hill and a cutscene's supposed to start.
It's pronounced Garnier.
Garnier. Ooh la la. And like you walk over this hill and like a cutscene starts and like it would just like freeze at that part and like stutter and then just freeze. And it just kept doing that, and then like one day my PS1 just bricked, wouldn't turn on again. I was like,
game is too advanced.
Yeah, say that it could not handle Final Fantasy 9.
Yeah, well, you gotta love it. That means 9 is in the top 5 best Final Fantasies.
It's up there.
How dare you, sir?
It's up there.
And frankly,
it has problems.
Of course it does. Every Final Fantasy has problems.
But problems like
6 and 7 have the least problems.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just don't like how in 9, like, you literally have to, like, to totally understand the story, you have to find a Japanese copy of the Ultimania and then translate it. because like half of the ending is gone from the game. So like all the details, you're just like, I don't know what happened at the end of this game. Like, I guess I better learn Japanese. Like, that pisses me off.
I will agree with you there.
But and the strategy guide is legendarily the biggest travesty of strategy guide history.
You know what else I'm going to say before I sign off? Because let's just face it, the end of the first Critical Beard reboot is coming to an end.
Would you say this is a remake?
That's astute. That's an astute observation, sir. And all I'm going to say is, you know what else is in my top 5 Final Fantasies?
Final Fantasy 2?
Final Fantasy 15, bitch.